Hey there, my name is Tori Richardson and I'm a senior at Assumption University, currently creating a podcast series for my senior seminar. So, welcome back to my podcast, Missing Out, where I'll discuss what it means to miss out on things. We have been traveling through some main acronyms during this series: FOMO, JOMO, and last but certainly not least, NOMO. Last time we talked about JOMO, which is the joy of missing out, and usually I immerse you into something that kind of goes into what the normalcy of missing out is, but this time I think I'm just going to cut right to the chase. So, what the heck is NOMO? NOMO is an acronym that I personally created to kind of explain what it means to have normalcy in missing out. And in our last episode, do you remember this?
I do identify with the joy of missing out, but actually before I answer that, I'm curious if you could tell me what you mean by joy.
What I mean by joy is basically the opposite of the fear of missing out, where there is no impulse or fear or anxiety that if someone invites you to something and you refuse, that, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on something, or I really should be there, or you're making sacrifices that are very big to be in those spaces.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I'll say it's not that I don't experience, I don't know if I would call it a fear, but a sensation that I could be missing out on doing something else, I think is the root of my own experience with the joy or the fear of missing out. There are many, many things that I want to do, and I think over the years of having a lot of interests, and especially doing the academic work that I do too, which entails a lot of course, not just prepping for teaching, but writing as well, I have to really recognize and embrace the fact that if I choose to do this thing, then I can't do this other thing, and I certainly can't do it simultaneously. And so I try to be as hyper conscious as I can be about what I commit myself to and what I devote my time to. And so I actually get the joy of missing out when I say, you know what, I'm going to, and in my personal life, I'm going to take these 2 hours and I'm just going to go ride my road bike and love it and enjoy being out on the road by myself doing my thing.
But what the heck is normal? In life, nothing is normal, and if there's anyone that can attest to that, it's both of my parents, Virginia and Adolf Richardson. So let's take a look at their interview. Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. Right now, I am here with both of my lovely parents. So right now, I'm here with Ginny and Adolf Richardson. So Dad, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm Adolf Richardson. I was born in St. Martin. That's in Dutch Caribbean. I'm from the Dutch side of St. Martin. It's an island that is French and Dutch. And I'm a school teacher right now, math school teacher. I teach in New Bedford public school.
And Mom, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, my name is Jenny Richardson, and I am Guatemalan. I was born in Guatemala, and my family and I immigrated to the United States in 1979. Resided in Attleboro for all of my life. Once we bought a home, we moved to the town that we live in now, but mostly Attleboro.
Alrighty, I'm going to kick it off to you, Dad, first. So when I asked to interview both of you, I immediately thought about the normalcy of missing out and what it means to miss out on things in life and how that can be very normal. But I want to take this first question more into your childhood. So do you feel like growing up, did you have more of the fear of missing out, or did you have more of the joy of missing out?
I think I had more the joy of missing out. Reason I say that because my parents raised me very strict and they kept us busy. I grew up in a family that was very athletic and musical. So I played a lot of sports, and I was in a lot of choirs, and we sang a lot at church. I was in multiple, competitions, whether it's sports or music. I don't think that I had any fear of missing out because our parents kept us grounded and kept us busy, and I had a lot of fun doing what I did, especially with music and sports.
And mom, what about you? Do you feel like you have more of the fear or the joy of missing out growing up?
So I think when I was young, before I hit high school, I think it was the joy of missing out because I didn't know that I was missing out on anything. My mom, we grew up and we had a very loving home because of my mother. She was a very loving woman, and she made things fun with us for us when we were growing up. And I guess I didn't notice what I was missing out until I got into high school when, my friends were able to, the big thing when I was growing up is going to the mall. Everybody wanted to go to the mall. And I really, because I come from a Spanish family, it's just not something that you were allowed to go out. And you weren't allowed to hang out with your friends, and you weren't allowed to go and sleep over. So at that moment, I guess I had a fear that I was missing out on something because I wasn't doing what I suppose is what is considered normal. So I guess I had both for me.
And a question to the both of you is, do you still currently feel that way from your childhood?
I think I don't feel like I had any fear of missing out anything. I still feel like I had joy. I kept busy. And I think for me personally, how we raised you guys, our kids, we kept you grounded, we kept you busy. So nothing really, we didn't want anything to bother you and think that you're missing out on anything. And we wanted you to pave your own way to success. For me personally, our parents, my parents in particular, kept us grounded and kept us focused on what needs to be done. I come from a very loving family, kept us focused, and I didn't think of anything like that I miss out on anything because my life was well grounded. I enjoy what I did growing up with my siblings. We were very competitive, but I didn't feel like missing out on anything. I just kept focused on what was in front of me, and that's how our parents raised us. What's in front of you, to stay focused, and it's almost like getting the job done on all your accomplishments to be successful in life. I didn't feel like I missed out on anything.
And mom, what about you? Do you feel like you still have that fear of missing out after growing up and, becoming a mom?
Truthfully, no, because it has been a true joy to raise the two of you, meaning your brother Alex and yourself, and to be able to grow with you. As you grew, I grew. Um, you brought me such happiness into my life in every stage of your of your life. As children, the busyness of bringing you to games and you know um, traveling here, traveling there, because your brother did a lot of, traveling because of sports. And then I had the joy of watching you do your plays and singing and all of that. And when you got to high school and all of a sudden you tell us that you want to do a sports and it was fencing, and just truthfully never even knowing what fencing was and that it was even a sport, and having the joy of seeing that and watching you grow and become an accomplished fencer. That to me was amazing. And so no, I don't think I miss anything. I I didn't I don't feel like I've missed anything. I've had the joy of seeing every single stage of your life and to be present in it and to enjoy it. And I don't think there's anything better than that in life, other than to watch your children grow and grow to be successful adults. That's quite a joyful thing as far as I'm concerned.
For me personally, once you bring kids into this world, you have to take care of them, and it was a joy for us, to raise our kids and to see, um, the type of adults you guys have become and very successful. And how I grew up, with my family is a very disciplined family. So that's what, growing up, that how I was raised. Um, and I'm nowhere yet, but I love where I'm at. Beautiful family, um, and we're gonna continue being disciplined and being successful as much as we can, by focusing and giving our experience to you guys.
When your father and I met, um, we had our fun, you know. Him and I both love to dance, and your father loves live bands because he was in a band when he was younger, and we love to dance. So, when we were young, we would go out with our friends. We'd go out like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, we used to go out and we used to go dancing, and we would never once to to go out. We didn't have to get drunk to have a good time. We had a good time just dancing and having fun with our friends and all of that. So when our lives, you came into our lives, meaning Alex first, obviously, and then you, um, we had our fun. We had all that fun of going out and dancing and having a good time and socializing with all our friends, so that it was almost like a stage. We then went into the stage of being parents and dedicating our time to you and seeing you become the adults that you have become. And like I mentioned to you earlier, it has been a great joy to see that growth from that child in diapers, and the joke in the house was that you were Klingon because you would cling on to my to my leg when you were little, and then I see this beautiful young lady before me, and it's like, what an evolution of the person that you are. And now I get to enjoy that part of you. So I don't feel like I've lost anything in it because I see it as stages of my life. And I, like I mentioned before, I've tried to enjoy, I know I have, I should say, that I have enjoyed every stage of my life so far. And God's willing, I'll have many more.
I don't know if you guys want to talk about it. You guys don't have to answer this question. But I want to talk about how you two met each other. And I think that this story is really important because had you guys not been where you guys were the night that you guys actually met each other, like this wouldn't have existed. This family wouldn't have existed. And I think that it's important, I feel like, to my listeners right now that yes, like there can be good a good aspect of the fear of missing out, and there's good aspects of the joy of missing out. But when people hear the fear of missing out, it's like, oh my gosh, I that's terrible, you shouldn't live like that or whatever. But there are going to be aspects where it was a good thing that you did go out and go do something, or you're happy that you said yes to doing that thing. And I think that that is how you guys met. So I don't want to give away the story because this is your guys' story. So Mom, can you share your part of how you met Dad?
So yeah, the way that your dad and I met, as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Guatemala, and both my mother and my father, what they used to do when they were alive is they used to go to Guatemala for Christmas. And I happened to be visiting my friend, and she had little ones at the time. And she said to me, what are you doing tonight? And I said, I'm going back home. She's like, nah, you can't do that. You gotta go out. You gotta go out. My sister's going out. Why don't you go out with her? It'll be fun. You'll have a good time. And I was like, I don't know. She said, go. I said, all right, fine. I'll go. So we head out to a place in Rhode Island, and I was just going there to dance, to have a good time, and I did. I danced and I had a good time. I danced with a couple of different people, and the night was great. That was that. And then we went home, and then after that, she mentioned that there was a person that was asking for me, and I was like, oh, I don't know who that was. I couldn't remember who that was, and the other thing was, whenever I went out, I never gave my name. I never said Jenny. I never said, I would say Jenny. What is your name? My name is Jenny. Where are you from? Foxborough. I never said where I was from. This is, God, this is time before cell phones. So there was no cell phones. There was still landlines. If there were cell phones, I wasn't rich enough to have one. So, yeah. And that's what I remember. And Dad can take over from there.
Well, what happened to me is that night it was a Christmas night, and a friend of mine said, "Come on, we got to go out." I didn't feel like going out, and he said, "No, you got to go. You can't stay home on Christmas night." And knowing that we love live bands, and we went to this club, live band, because I love live band. I was a lead singer in the band, and I said, "Okay, we'll go." And that night, I saw this girl on the floor, on the dance floor, and I was like, "Whoa!" So I told my buddy, I said, "Oh, see that girl? I'm gonna marry that girl," just out of the blue. And he laughed at me and all that. And I was like, so I tried to get her number. I think your mom gave me the wrong name, wrong number. I was
That
like,
sounds about
oh
right.
my gosh. So it happened so that, after that night, I saw her friend at one of the malls, and I was like, where's your friend is that? So I asked her about her friend, and I said, here's my number, please give it to her. Because I was looking for her. It was like 6 months went by. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to see this girl again. Something came over me that night that I had to see her in. And that was history. So, and here we are, many moons later.
I feel like I don't even need to ask this question, but you guys seem like you have no regrets. You guys have absolutely no regrets in life.
No regrets for me, because, life is about experiences. And sometimes we have challenges in life, but that's part of life, having challenges. It's what you do after when a challenge hits you. How do you handle that? You got to keep moving forward. Sometimes you end up, I always say, you end up in a storm. To get out of that storm, you have to keep pushing forward. That's how life is. When me and my wife Jenny, we sit down and we talk, and even before we had you guys, we always talk about how are we going to raise our kids and what manner and all that. And we're very proud of you for where you guys, where you're at right now in life. So regrets? No regrets. It's just I just feel blessed.
As far as I'm concerned, no, neither. I don't have any great regrets at all. I've had the joy of seeing every part of, enjoying every part of your life. It's just it's been a joy to have it all. And genuinely that's what we've had. We've had it all. But it has been truly a joy. And I agree with Dad about that. There's no regrets. None whatsoever. And I'm just eager to see what comes our way and what God brings to us.
So, be honest, guys. Have you ever had a moment where you thought to yourself, I am totally fine missing out on that? Or have you ever had a moment where you were like, like I can't miss out on this?
I think the biggest thing for me is we um, have to be there for our kids' functions because our kids come first. And we always we're me and your mom was like a pack. If I'm busy, whether with work or whatever I have to do, then mom always finds time to be there for her kids. And if she cannot make a function, I make sure I make the function. So we went back and forth, making sure that we're there. We're your biggest fan. I mean, of course, you know that we're your biggest fan. We're your biggest cheerleaders for your success. So yes, we always we made a pact and said we're gonna be there for our kids, even if the both of us together or separate. Someone has to be there to represent and to represent the family.
I guess for me, it's been, as your father mentioned, it's the activities. Like, I will use a vacation day, I will use a personal day. If that means that I get the privilege to be able to be at whatever function that is, that to me was very important. You know, it's it's kind of like when you see those videos when you see the little kids on the stage and they're looking and looking for their parents. Like, we get to experience that, you know, having you look out and try to find us in the crowd, and you find us and you give us that little wink that, I see you, Mom, I see you, Dad. Or even Alex, when he was doing sports and, yelling out his name and saying, whatever. And you being there. Remember the days of you being by the fence and you had your little pigtails and you'd be like, Alex, Alex, be the ball, be the ball. I remember those days, Those were fun days, you know? That's what I find is the joy of it all. That was to me more important than, let's say for the sake of argument, going out drinking with friends after work, you know? Like, that to me was like, nah, I don't need to do that. I can go home.
As we're, wrapping up this interview, I just want to say how blessed I am and how blessed Alex is to um, have you guys as parents, and how blessed I am to have the family that I have, because you guys have really instilled a lot in me and in Alex to accomplish a lot of things. I mean, beginning this semester off and hearing that my final project was going to be a podcast, and it was, each episode it has to be like 30 minutes long. I was like, oh god, I don't know if I can do that. But I think the way that you guys have raised me has really prepared me to complete this podcast series and to come up with the ideas that I have. And I think that, yes, I still have that fear of missing out. I think that I'm not yet at the level that you guys are at with having the normalcy of missing out. And I think that it's going to come with time. But I think what makes it so normal, like you guys were saying before, that like that your lifestyle is not for everyone, and everyone's going to figure out what their normalcy of missing out is going to be. And I guess my last question for you guys is, what do you want to leave the viewers off with? Dad, I'll start with you.
Well, find out what makes you tick. And what I mean by that is what gets you, passionate about doing something. Found your niche and find out what you want to do with your life and just go and do it. I like helping people. I'm a school teacher for the last 15 years now. And I love to see transformation. I think that's huge for me. I would leave the listeners with this. Find out what you want in life and just go get it done.
So I guess what I would like to leave everyone with is, like I mentioned before, the way that our relationship is it may not be for everyone, but it's perfect for us. It's our perfect little life. So everybody's life looks different, and as he mentioned before, Adolf mentioned before, it's whatever that is for you. There is no such thing as the perfect everything. It's everyone's perfect looks different. It's not a cookie cutter life, you know. You just have to find that person. If that's what brings joy into your life, is being with a person, or it could be that you just like to be alone. You know, some people find joy in being alone and not having to have to worry about somebody else, you know? So it's you finding whatever makes you happy, however that comes, whatever shape, whatever color, whatever it is that makes you happy. That's what matters. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is you and what makes you happy. It's not about somebody else, it's you, it's your happiness. So just remember that. You have to, whatever that happiness looks like for you, do it. Makes you happy, do it.
Like I was saying before in my interview, I still have the fear of missing out, but through this journey, I have seen all of the good and all of the bad of FOMO and JOMO. Through my parents, I see the NOMO and what I can achieve through that mindset. I hope you all can too. Like my folks said, find what makes you tick and make sure it makes you happy, because that's the beauty in NOMO. There's no blueprint to figuring out what is normal. So, thank you everyone for listening to my podcast series and taking this journey with me. I'm glad that you didn't miss out.